Did you guys like the preview activity? In this video, you guys are going to learn about attribution. That is related to what person thinks about the reason of their success or failure. After engaging in this session, you'll be able to explain how learners' beliefs about why they did or did not succeed at various tasks impact their motivation and learning. And this color text can be summarized into one sentence, attribution. So you are going to explain how attribution impacts students' motivation and learning. So what are attributions? Attributions are learners' self-constructed explanations of outcome, such as their failures or successes. When an event happens, we usually attribute that event to something. Like, for instance, as you did for the preview activity, if the date didn't go well, if the blind date didn't go well, like you think about the reason why that it didn't go well. So attribution happens after the outcome, and it's their beliefs about what causes what. So I did something and it happened, and how I'm going to interpret it. It's like how you attribute something to a cause. And attributions can vary in three ways: locus, stability, controllability. I mean, these may sound like a little fancy words, but basically, locus relates to the location of the attribution. So whether it's internal, whether the cause is to oneself, or is it outside of self. For instance, I flunked a test, which is an outcome, and we can attribute it either to an internal cause, oh, because I didn't study hard, or to the external cause, like the teacher hated me. So that is the difference between the internal attribution and external attribution. Some attributions are more stable, which is relatively more permanent, whereas some attributions are more temporary or unstable. Again, I didn't do well on the quiz because I'm dumb. Like maybe dumb can be considered as more stable attribution, whereas I was just sick that day. I didn't feel well, and this is more of a unstable um, attribution because hopefully one person should not be sick every day. Lastly, the attributions can vary in the controllability, whether one can influence the cause or not. So controllable attribution is a cause that students can influence, whereas uncontrollable attribution is something that students cannot influence. Well, the previous two examples were a little negative, so I try to include one positive example. So let's say I did the assignment well. It can, like, one can attribute that outcome to because I put a lot of effort, which is more controllable, or the assignment was just easy. And this is uncontrollable because usually students cannot determine the difficulty of the assignment. So as you can see, attributions can vary in three ways, which can leads to this kind of 2 by 2 by 2 table, which are 8. So there can be 8 types of attributions. So let's say that I failed a test. That's an outcome. And let's think about why that happened. Why did that happen? So at first, this table looks little like too much, but actually it's easy. Okay, let's start with internal versus external. So as you can see, like if it starts with I, it means that the person is finding the cause into oneself, like internal reason. The other two examples are something that are like external. So this can be divided into internal versus external. Right. I didn't study enough for the test, and that is the reason why I failed the test. Which box do you think that this example should go? It's internal, and it's controllable, and it's kind of unstable because you can always study more if you can, and that is something that you can control. How about this sentence? How about this attribution? I'm dumb and I failed the test. That is the reason I failed the test. It's internal, and usually people think that like being dumb is more of a stable and uncontrollable character. So it can go into this cell. How about this? Bad luck, the bus broke down. It's definitely external because bus is not the person, and it's uncontrollable and quite unstable. Hopefully the bus shouldn't break down every day. Um, how about the last example? The teacher is a harsh grader. It's also external and it's uncontrollable, and maybe it can be more stable because teachers tend to be more consistent when it comes to grading. After watching this video, I want you to think about your attributions for the preview activity, like how you attributed the cause of the like blind date not going well. Think about to which category does that attribution belong to, and also like how would that influence your future dating behaviors or your future experiences when it comes to dating. Now that we have learned different types of attributions, we can think of which attribution is more adaptive. And also the consequence of their attribution. So here's the scenario. John and Peter both flunked their Algebra 1 course. John attributes his failure to not studying, while Peter attributes his failure to low ability. Who do you think makes a more adaptive attribution? Well, in general, attributing failure to low ability, which is generally considered more internal, stable, and uncontrollable, can lead to learned helplessness. Like, oh, I'm just not able to do that. I cannot do anything. This kind of attitude, which is not, of course, beneficial for one's learning. Another maladaptive type of attribution is attributing failure to external attribution when it is due to internal attribution, because it can make one irresponsible. Like for instance, although in this case, John attributes his failure to not studying, like let's suppose that John attributes his failure to like Algebra 1's teacher. Like teacher just made the exam too hard, or maybe he's a harsh grader. This kind of attribution, if John didn't put much effort, doesn't help him because it is likely that the reason that he failed the test is because he did not put a lot of effort, but he's trying to find causes not from himself, but from the other like uncontrollable external factors. Then the question is, as Algebra 1 teacher, how can we help Peter use adaptive attribution? And this is called as attribution retraining, because we are helping students attribute better. One strategy can be make Peter attribute his failure to specific effort for the test. We can also teach him how to utilize effective learning strategies. So one thing that teacher is often confused at, they think that just emphasizing effort a lot is a good attribution, but it's actually not, because students can even become more helpless, even become more frustrated if they do not get results, if they do not get good results after they put a lot of effort. So while we need to emphasize the importance of effort, we also need to teach the effective learning strategies. One should study not only hard, but also smart. We can also emphasize the importance of effort and practice. And another important strategy is that giving him chances to self-evaluate his effort and learning progress, so that he can feel that his autonomy is being respected. I want to conclude this video with important takeaways. I like attribution theory because attributions influence not only one's academic motivation or academic achievement, but they influence so many aspects of our lives. As you can imagine, attributions influence learners' emotional reactions to success and failure. I mean, think about that. Think about attributing one's failure of a success of a blind date to an internal uncontrollable cause. Like for instance, like oh, I'm ugly or I'm not attractive. Like that can be quite frustrating, right? Attributions can also influence one's expectations for future success and failure. So how we attribute our success and failure can influence whether we are going to keep succeeding or we are going to keep failing. Attributions also influence effort and persistence, as well as some learning strategies and classroom performance. So so how we attribute does not only influence one's academic achievement, but their overall well-being. So I really want you to think about like how you usually attribute your failure or success, and I really encourage you to adapt more adaptive attributions. Now that we have learned attributions, I want you to read the textbook that is related to teacher attribution and identify like three important takeaways from that part. And I also want to think about this question. And please write your answer in the after video activity. So what do you think would cause the difference between Tom and Gina? So both Tom and Gina attributed their low grades on math midterm to their low ability. Tom gave up studying and later dropped out of the course, whereas Gina worked harder and received a better score on her final. So please think about this question and share your answer at the next activity.